Good morning today, 26 July 2024. We are going to discuss editorial of The Hindu. First article here about India-Russia relation. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited Russia and it is very significant from geopolitical point of view. We will discuss this article in detail. What should be the strategy? What was the message given by India to Western country to the world about Russia's visit? The second article here about Karnataka bill. Recently, Karnataka had put bill in its legislature about addressing unemployment issues in Karnataka. This bill we will discuss in detail. Though the bill is related to unemployment, we will discuss larger point why unemployment very huge in India. The next article here is about the budget, whether provisions included in the budget will help in achieving Viksit Bharat 2047, make India a developed nation by 2047, whether these are enough. That's what we will discuss this article from Live Mint. So let's, without any further waste of time, we'll start our discussion. First article here from Live Mint about the budget. Budget is fiscally sound but very weak for Viksit Bharat. India is aiming to become developed nation by 2047 and it is proceeding with the goal of Viksit Bharat. Under Viksit Bharat, India has put up a lot of initiatives. So we'll discuss now the budget based on three questions. Fiscal stance on the budget available for the present macroeconomic context. Outcome of May election has significant fiscal implication. Budget help position India for the Viksit Bharat goal of becoming developed country by 2047. So budget, three questions are being asked. On the fiscal question, this is very highly uncertain. Even in an uncertain world, India continued to grow at around 7%, so which is highly elevated. It is a good welcome note. Also, Reserve Bank of India, through its monetary policy committee, maintained monetary policy target of inflation in the range of 2 to 6%. However, it crossed 6% upper limit band because of the largely high food prices. Current account deficit is 1% within the gross domestic product. The main concern, high government debt. So 58% of the GDP is met through loans, from external loans, internal loans. What happens when government takes a lot of loans? When government takes a lot of loans, private sector will not be having the loan. Hence, the economy will be divided of infrastructure and capex expenditure. At the same time, fiscal deficit has been set at 4.9% of the GDP, a reduction from 5.6% in 23-24. That is very good and welcome move. It is possibly due to one, revenue growth and high revenue transfer from RBI. We discussed that almost 2 lakh crores of rupees, 2 lakh and above crores of rupees has been transferred as dividends by Reserve Bank of India to central government. But deficit reduction can also be done through various measures. One is revenue expenditure. Under revenue expenditure, government spends on various schemes for the welfare. So central government debt to GDP ratio is accordingly declined from 58.2 to 56.8%. Finance Minister stated fiscal deficit will be brought under 4.5% in the next subsequent year and it will continue to be reduced thereafter to ensure declining debt to GDP ratio. What is this debt to GDP ratio? How much we owe as a part of GDP. Basically, it refers to our borrowing capacity. So we are borrowing heavily. So when your debt to GDP ratio reduces, so it will be good for economy. The government is now crucially dependent on support of Janata Dal United and Telugu Desam Party for staying in power, and both have claimed a good amount in the budget. For Andhra Pradesh, they have got special assistance for Amaravati capital region. For Bihar, various special packages have been given. Voters are frustrated by lack of good jobs to earn decent livelihoods, and government need to focus on productive employment generation. Regarding the first point, wherein Bihar and Andhra Pradesh, they have presented special focus on eastern states. However, it is only Andhra and Bihar which got huge allocations in the budgetary resources. The other opposition states are in a position that this is just kursi bachao, fair saving budget by NDA government. That's what they are claiming. With regard to employment and livelihoods, financial incentive schemes have been announced to incentivize young workers as new recruits, apprentices in large firms for skilling programs entailing those involving involvement in the industry. Several schemes have been announced. So those who are taking internships, 5,000 rupees per month will be given to newly intern under corporate social responsibility. Tie-ups will be established with industrial clusters, and employment opportunities will be provided, and almost 1 crore loans to students will be given, and loans increase from 4 lakhs to 10 lakhs. It is important to recognize emerging global economy will be shaped by two fundamental technological changes. One is energy transition and artificial intelligence. There is intense competition in the world between US and China over complex technological transformation. How can India position itself in the emerging global economy, and how the budget will help in moving in this certain direction? Three main points to be made here. 3 points. Finance Minister told economic policy framework will be prepared for next generation of reforms. He listed 17 items as possible components. They are mostly related to factor markets, important in themselves, but they do not begin address the kind of emerging global economic challenges as we discussed between US and China is happening. There is a technological war, there is an energy war is happening, but we still are on thinking we should have the out of box thinking for next generation reforms. Secondly, taxation. Nearly after 35 years have passed since last big wave of tax reforms we have introduced, except GST. GST came in recently 2017. It is time to consider comprehensive reforms in the Indian tax system as a part of next generation reforms. While several ad hoc tax revenues with reference to time they will change here and there, those are ad hoc measures. But finance minister in this budget told a comprehensive review of 1961 Income Tax Act to revise and simplify it. To bring next generation reforms, review of is necessary and it should be revised and simplified. The sooner the tax reforms done, better it is. A draft simplified tax direct code was unfortunately put aside for few years. This time we can revive it very urgently. A simple comprehensive code can be considered for custom duties that can change in ad hoc manner. The same manner, custom duties are also changing. So custom duties also need revision and review. Finally, finance minister can work on goods and service tax. Now, petrol, diesel, alcohol, all these things are out of purview of the GST. So it is chaired by finance minister. He need to simplify the structure of GST. There are multiple bracket provisions are there. Tax slabs. There are multiple tax slabs are there. So these slabs cause very confusion. Sometimes there is compliance burden is there. Ultimately, it is impacting common man very heavily. Third, expenditure budget lists several schemes that address country's energy transition. Though these initiatives are welcome, they need a significantly to be scaled up, accelerated as a part of next generation reforms. If you want to bring next generation reforms, you need to scale up, you need to invest a lot of money, you need to invest in technologies, you need to invest in manpower, you need to provide a skill development to them. Unfortunately, even such limited initiatives are missing with regard to preparing artificial intelligence driven global economy. So next article is about Karnataka bill. It is larger than the problem. So we'll discuss this article in detail. Recently, Karnataka reservation bill was discussed almost entire world, and it generated so much controversy. Then state government had to come up with forced explanation. They paused it, and then they gave assurances that they will change the act. They changed the measures in the bill. The Karnataka State Employment Local Candidates in the Industries, Factories and other Establishment Bill 2024. This is the reservation bill. It called for mandatory 50%, 70% reservation in management and non-management categories in the Karnataka state region. So whenever suppose say one industry has been established there, 50% of the management jobs, those called officials, 20% of the non-management job, those who are employed in technician grade, operator grade. So 70% of the job. Let us say if you are recruiting 100 members, you should recruit 70 members from Karnataka and 50 members in management and non-management category. The bill currently drafted, it is heavy-handed. Some provisions need to be rethought. However, the deep conversation about issues India facing the exploding issue of job crisis and regional socio-economic disparities. So we need to think very high before dismissing this bill. India is the fifth largest economy, and India is aspiring to become third largest economy. And blessingly, India has the largest youth population. This would be happy circumstances if a growth model created large number of jobs to productively employ its youth. When these youth, we have largest youth population, if certain growth model is created, it can employ them. Instead of what is happening, this high-end services-led growth model delinked growth and employment. Growth is happening, but employment is not happening at the same pace. The situation is making globalization, financialization, technological advances allowed capital and small set of highly skilled individuals. They are gaining a lot of benefits. However, large class of working people, they have seen losing their employment. They don't have the capability to earn. The political repercussion across the world are being discussed in developed countries, basically as a measure of immigration from one state to another state. People are immigrating because of lack of employment opportunity. In India, it is showing up in a part of regionalism and reaction against interstate migration. If you say Karnataka, it is kind of interstate migration only. While argument for immigration has been made in the developed world by many of the parties, it is largely utilitarian terms for the host country in addressing labor shortage, unpleasant jobs, and offsetting aging population. When it comes, while global trends are significant, the situation in India is different and more complicated. Our Indian Constitution guarantees anyone the freedom of right to freedom to move, right to work anywhere in India. Domicile requirement of this nature is not required. So in Karnataka, where they have mentioned this domicile requirement, they should be belonging to Karnataka, is lacking insight, and it against the national unity. At the same time, the focus should be on local reservation is attempt by state political leadership to be responsive to its own electorate. People elect leaders and then they want to make something for them. But however, these kind of parochial, those lacking vision in long term, are strongly against the national unity. National unity is a theme in Indian politics. So, devolution of funds, limitations, state domicile requirements, these are all the things every time being discussed. What about the accountability? There is a federalism and political accountability. What is federalism? India is a federation. Federalism basically several states come together and then form. United States of America is a federation. All states have come together and formed United States of America. States can become independent, but they don't have right to become separate. Instead of, in case of India, India is a indestructible union of destructible state. That means union cannot be destructed. India cannot be destructed. India remains as it is. However, state can be divided for administrative purpose and many other things. What is happening is basically the political representative, they are in the guise of accountability to the citizens. They are bringing a lot of things. However, they are losing their real accountability. How to create employment opportunity, how to create budget. So these things are being missed. The skilled population, unskilled population, basically they are facing a lot of issue. Those who are migrating from other states are being employed in the other state. Suppose say people are migrating from Bihar into Karnataka, then the Karnataka, there the industries, they are not in opposition to it. Why? Because they do not form labor unions. They don't ask a lot of money from employers. So they will get employment that is enough for them. When it is employed by the state, local people, they create a union, they demand a lot of money. So in a way, it becomes very difficult for industries to survive. And these are all the reasons why instead of solving these issues, political parties putting this local criteria is not a good measure. So what should be done? We are part of, we are economically and culturally part of larger Indian Union, and we have responsibility to entire country and its people. However, the issue is very simple. The political expediency is a mere outrage. So those whoever have been taking political courses, it is just reaction to the unemployment. There must be a national debate involving our political class, corporate sector, civil society on urgently addressing India's job crisis. The long-term response cannot be related to data or unemployment allowances or regionalism like we discussed in Karnataka. Nationally, it is evident current skilling and production linked incentive interventions are inadequate to meet the challenges at hand. Similarly, the state level, the fact political responsiveness shows up in domicile quotas is indicative of anxiety about growing unemployment. We must, second thing, we must foreground political accountability for large scale distress migration and endemic lack of employment in some states. Let us suppose say in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, such a states, a lot of migration is happening. Migration is happening, even people are migrating from Andhra to different parts for better employment opportunities. So political representative must be held accountable for these things. So accountability should be both at state and national leadership. Questions of federalism and national unity need both institutional response and greater political maturity. Minimum National Development Council need to be resurrected. It should be brought back again. National Development Council or Niti Aayog services can be utilized for accounting these kind of services. Karnataka reservation bill is symptom of a much larger problem, that is what distress, job unemployment crisis in India. Bill can be kept just in passive mode. The underlying issues need to be addressed very urgent, and the political leaders should take action at the earliest. Our actions to these challenges will shape future of India's economic growth, social cohesion, and political stability. India is aspiring to become third largest economy, so it is the need of the hour that we must address this long challenging issues related to unemployment. The next article, it is about recent Modi's visit to Russia. Narendra Modi, in his third term, first time visited Russia amid growing war between Russia and Ukraine. It's been 2 years since war had happened, and now it is slowly. Several meetings have been skipped by Indian representatives. Definitely, annual meeting between Russia and India and SCO, Sub Shanghai Cooperation Organization, also meeting also being skipped because of global backlash against Russia, and USA sanctioned Russia. Why this meeting is very important, what message it sends, this is thing being is discussed. Basically, when Narendra Modi visited Russia and met Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, there was a huge criticism from Western countries about their meet. India several times pointed out that the peace should be brought at any cost. So India maintained a stand of peace, and then it should happen through diplomatic mode. Now the measures have been taken. The peace process has initiated. Recently in June 2024 in Switzerland, meeting had happened. US President, now Joe Biden, the present US President, also becoming very lean on this issue, and the aspiring presidential candidate Trump is also want to forego this issue. So this issue is becoming very slowly subdued thing, and Russia is very important for us. India can skip visit with China but cannot skip visit with Russia. Why? Because Russia is all weather friend to India. Why? Because in India's actual line of control between China and India, there is a conflict is happening. So Russia assistance is required to tackle China. Further, India oil import has been reduced from 152 to 132 billion dollars thanks to discounted oil from Russia. No one is buying, very few countries were buying crude oil from Russia because of sanctions by United States of America. It became blessing in disguise to India to buy discounted crude oil from Russia. India also partners with Russia in various fronts. We are taking S-400 missiles, and then India is the largest defense partner to Russia. India's trade with Russia increased from some $12 billion to $60 billion and above because of the crude oil. So there is a long-standing pending agreement between India and Russia, that is Vladivostok and China maritime corridor. If this maritime corridor has been initialized, then the crude oil receipt become very easy, and then India's import bill can reduce. Since United States of America imposing a lot of actions on Iran and Russia, so international north-south transport corridor that passes through international countries, basically through Iran, then Chabahar port, Iran, Afghanistan, then few other countries, then to Russia. This route is becoming very difficult because of a lot of restriction. this maritime route, if it can be actualized, it become great issue. Russia's Rosneft company invested in Gujarat Wadinar as a Nayara refinery. Several European countries are buying energy from Nayara refinery. They are assuming that Rosneft is not Russian counterpart as it is established in India. So they are buying as Indian crude oil. So India has also given assurances to global world that this is a Indian company. There are a lot of commitments are happening, and also for Indian point of view, Quad grouping was formed. It is alliance of USA, Australia, Japan, and India. Now the Quad has become very silent on many other issues because India's close movement with Russia. So India should take all these things, and it should not be viewed as a geopolitical issue. It is a geocalculus issue in which India is benefiting and India focusing its national priorities over global priorities. So today this much only. Thank you. Thank you very much for the discussion.